the ground dominion moved through space like a dark storm. Their ships were huge, shining with blue fire, and each one carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. For hundreds of years, they had conquered one world after another. No race had ever stopped them. No army had ever made them retreat. So when they reached the edge of Earth's solar system, their leaders felt no fear. They expected the same result as always: attack, destroy, conquer. To them, humans were just another weak species living on a small blue planet. Nothing special. Nothing dangerous. Their main flagship, a giant ship shaped like a metal spear, floated near Saturn. Inside the command bridge, Commander Varric stood tall. His skin was dark silver, and his 4 eyes glowed with cold light. He looked at the holoscreen showing the path to Earth. All readings were normal. All systems were ready. Everything was going as planned. Varric spoke with calm confidence. Humans should have noticed our arrival by now. Their fleet will meet us soon. But the officer beside him frowned. His hands moved fast across the control panel. Commander, our scanners detect no human fleet. Varric turned slowly. What? There is no fleet, the officer repeated. We only detect one ship. For a moment, the bridge fell silent. Then soft laughter filled the room. Alien officers whispered to each other, amused and confused. One ship? Humans were that foolish. Did they truly think a single ship could stop an entire invasion force? Some officers joked that maybe humans wanted to surrender early. Varric did not laugh. Something felt wrong. He looked again at the data. The human ship was small. Smaller than any warship the ground had ever seen. But its energy readings made no sense. They were unstable, as if the ship was alive. As if it was breathing. Varric's voice became sharp. Zoom in. Show me the ship. The screen changed. The image became clear. A thin, black ship moved slowly toward them. Its surface looked smooth at first, but then it shifted, like dark liquid metal sliding over itself. No engines were visible, yet the ship moved fast. The officer whispered, "It has no heat signature, no engine signature, nothing. I do not understand." Varric felt something he had not felt in years, curiosity mixed with fear. He stared at the strange ship. Has it sent any message? Yes, the officer said. Just one. Well, play it, Varric ordered. A human voice echoed through the bridge. Calm, cold, certain, turn back, final warning. The whole room froze. No threat. No long speech. Just one sentence. Varric clenched his jaw. They dare threaten us with one ship. The human ship came closer, and the bridge lights flickered. The alien screens glitched. For a few seconds, all scanners turned to static, like something was blocking the signals. When the screens returned, the ship was closer than before. Too close. Commander, our systems are being disrupted. Something is interfering with our scanners. Varric stepped forward. Analyze its structure. We cannot, the officer replied. Every scan fails. It is like the ship refuses to be scanned. Varric growled. Nothing refuses the ground dominion. Outside, the small human ship glided across the darkness like a shadow cutting through water. And then something strange happened. Its hull changed shape again. A ripple moved across its surface, and sharp, blade-like structures grew and folded back in. The aliens had never seen technology like this. Varric finally felt the fear he had been ignoring. This ship, it is not built. It is grown. Before he could give a new order, the ship suddenly vanished. Not warped. Not jumped. It simply disappeared like a light turning off. The officer shouted, "We lost it." How? Varric demanded. We do not know. It left no trail. Alarms began to ring. New signals appeared behind them. The human ship was now floating near the back of their fleet, as if it had always been there. Varric stared with wide eyes. This is impossible. The human ship sent another message. The same voice. Calm and steady. This is your last chance. Varric felt anger rising in his chest. Prepare all weapons. Fire at the human ship. Dozens of plasma cannons charged at once. Blue fire grew brighter and brighter. Then the flagship released the full attack. The bridge shook with the force of the blast. The massive wave of plasma hit the human ship. Or at least, it looked like it did. When the bright flash faded, the alien officers gasped. The human ship was still there. Untouched. Not even scratched. The plasma had passed straight through it, as if the ship was only a shadow. It is phasing, one officer whispered. Commander, that ship is not fully in our dimension. Varric felt his heart pound. His own instincts screamed at him. Something was wrong, very wrong. This was no simple human craft. This was a warning. A message. A threat. The human ship slowly turned toward the flagship. Its surface glowed faintly, like an eye opening. Varric whispered, "What kind of monsters are these humans?" And the ship began to move again, faster than anything he had ever seen, as the first real battle for Earth began. The alien fleet panicked. Their massive ships, built to crush planets, now shook with fear. Commander Varric could not believe what he was seeing. One human ship, small and seemingly fragile, was moving faster than anything in their fleet. And every time they tried to hit it, it vanished and reappeared behind them. No shields, no defense systems, nothing mattered. The ship was untouchable. Inside the human ship, Commander Aiden Cross sat alone in the cockpit. His eyes were calm, but his mind was sharp and calculating. The ship, called Eclipse 1, was not built like normal ships. It was grown using experimental human technology. Living metal formed the hull, dark and smooth, yet stronger than the hardest alloys in the galaxy. Dark matter cores powered it. Energy flowed through it like blood through veins. It could bend space itself, and for seconds, it could clone itself, creating images to confuse enemies. Aiden's mission was clear: protect Earth. No fleet. No backup. Just him and this strange ship. Humanity was not ready for war, but they had to survive. And Aiden had learned something in his life. Humans did not fight to win. They fought to survive. And when survival was at stake, humans became monsters. The ground Dominion ships fired everything they had. Plasma beams tore through space. Missiles burned trails of fire across the void. Yet nothing touched Eclipse 1. Every attack was useless. The ship moved like a shadow, faster than light in short bursts, always striking where the aliens did not expect. The ground ships were now losing themselves to panic. They had never faced an enemy that could move through their attacks as if reality itself obeyed it. Varric's voice was low but harsh. Bring it down. Destroy it. I do not care what it costs. Aiden smiled slightly, almost invisible behind his visor. He had already calculated the angles, the energy flow, the best positions to strike. He activated the ship's systems. The hull rippled. Parts of it extended into sharp blades. Lights blinked across its surface. Eclipse 1 was alive in a way no machine should be alive. He pressed a sequence on the control panel. Suddenly, multiple illusions of the ship appeared. Each one shot past the alien fleet, forcing them to waste energy on targets that were not real. For a moment, the ground fleet did not know what to fire at. Their scanners failed. Their minds raced. The humans, one human, was breaking their logic. Varric's hands shook. How can one human ship do this? This is impossible. He could not understand the strange feelings rising in him. Curiosity, fear, anger, all at the same time. He had never felt so powerless in 1,000 years of conquest. Meanwhile, Eclipse 1 moved closer. Aiden knew he could not destroy all of them. There were too many ships. but he could send a warning that would stay in their memory forever. He activated the disruption field, a beam that interfered with sensors and engines. Half of the alien fleet slowed, confused, unable to move. Some cruisers collided with each other in the chaos. From the ground flagship, alarms screamed, lights flashed, and officers shouted commands. "Commander, they are inside our formation. Their energy, it bends reality." Varric's eyes widened. He had seen many strange technologies in his life, but nothing like this. It cannot be. Humans are weak. They have no fleets, no armies. Aiden's voice came again over the comms. "Calm. Certain. I warned you. Leave now, or face the consequences." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of death. Varric looked at his officers. They were silent, pale, trembling. Even they could feel it. Something about this human, about this ship, was not natural. Varric shouted, "Fire everything. Leave nothing alive." The fleet opened fire with every weapon. Plasma storms, missiles, energy beams, all struck Eclipse, one at once. And still, the ship survived. The energy flowed around it like water around a stone. It was untouchable. Then Aiden made his move. He activated the phase drive, a jump through space that the aliens could not understand. The ship disappeared from the front of the fleet and reappeared directly behind the flagship. The massive ground ship's rear armor was thin. The Eclipse One's energy blades tore through it, disabling engines and weapons in a single strike. The flagship rocked violently. Varric screamed, gripping the railing. "Stop it! Stop it now!" Aiden spoke again, calm and firm. "This is your final warning. Leave Earth, or you will regret it." The alien officers looked at each other. For the first time, fear had entered their hearts. The ground dominion had never been defeated, but something about these humans made them doubt. One ship, one human, had done what thousands of ships in their history could not do. Varric's mind raced. If one ship can do this, what are they hiding? Aiden watched from his cockpit. The human ship was damaged, but it was alive. He knew that Earth depended on him. And he also knew that the ground dominion had never faced humans like this before. One man, one ship, and a species that refused to be crushed. The aliens retreated slightly, confused and shaken. But Aiden did not celebrate. He knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had survived the first encounter, but the real war had yet to begin. And Eclipse One would be ready. The ground fleet was in chaos. Their massive ships, built to crush planets, were now broken and confused. Commander Varric could not understand what he was seeing. One human ship had destroyed the rear of his flagship and disabled half of his fleet. Every move Aiden Cross made was faster, smarter, and more terrifying than they could imagine. Varric's 4 eyes glowed brighter as he shouted, "All units, focus fire. Do not let it escape." The alien ships moved in panic. Missiles flew, plasma beams blazed, and energy pulses lit up the black of space. But Eclipse One, the small human ship, vanished and reappeared in different positions. Sometimes it was to the right, sometimes above, sometimes behind the ground formation. It was like the ship could be everywhere at once. Inside Eclipse One, Aiden's hands moved with precision. He had trained for this moment his whole life. His ship was alive, almost conscious, responding to his thoughts. Blades extended from the hull. Energy pulses shot out, cutting through the ground's shields. The illusions he created earlier now multiplied. Each enemy ship faced multiple versions of the human ship at once, unable to tell which one was real. The aliens screamed in frustration. Their scanners failed. Their weapons misfired. Some ships fired at each other by accident, colliding and exploding in bright bursts of fire. Commander Varric's rage grew, but so did his fear. He had fought hundreds of species, but none like this. Humans were different. They did not fight to win. They fought to survive, and survival made them dangerous beyond imagination. Varric roared, "Bring everything. Use the energy cannons. Target the human. But Aiden was already preparing his next move. The ground flagship's engines were damaged, and their formation was falling apart. Eclipse 1 activated its graviton pulse, a field that bent gravity around the alien ships. They slowed, drifted, and collided with one another. The ground fleet could no longer move as one. Their weapons misfired, hitting their own ships. The chaos was complete. From the alien perspective, it looked like magic. But Aiden thought only in numbers, speed, and energy. He had no time for fear, only action. The ship glowed faintly as it bent space around itself. Then, in a move no alien could predict, Eclipse 1 shot a beam directly at the flagship. It tore through armor, disabled the weapons, and forced the ship to drift helplessly in space. Varric slammed his claw on the console. Impossible! How can one ship do this? One human. This is insane. The human voice came over the comms again. Calm. Cold. I warned you. Leave Earth. Now. Varric's lips curled in anger. We do not retreat. Fire everything. Destroy it. But the aliens were losing control. Their fleet had never faced this kind of unpredictability. Their weapons were useless, their formations broken. Eclipse 1 moved through their defenses like a shadow. And then it did something worse. They could not even detect it properly. The ship appeared and disappeared at will, phasing in and out of space. Aiden targeted one cruiser, the largest of the ground fleet. The ship extended its blades, slicing through the cruiser like a knife through paper. The explosion rocked the fleet, and alarms screamed across the alien ships. Panic spread faster than fire. Every officer knew this human ship could destroy them all, and they could not stop it. Varric stumbled, almost trembling. He had always been a master strategist, but now strategy failed. He realized one thing too late: they had underestimated humans. One ship, one human, had done what thousands of ships in their history could not. Fear settled over him. He had never felt this way. His confidence, his pride, all shattered in minutes. Aiden did not celebrate. The battle was not over. Eclipse 1's hull rippled as it absorbed energy from the attacks. Aiden's mind was focused on survival and defense. He knew that if he failed, Earth would be destroyed. And even though he was alone, he felt calm. He trusted the ship. The ship trusted him. Together, they were unstoppable. Varric yelled again. Target the human. All fire. Break the illusions. The alien officers tried to follow commands, but nothing worked. Every move was countered. Every attack failed. Eclipse 1 moved like a ghost, striking where the aliens were weakest. The ground fleet began retreating, but the flagship was still too dangerous. Aiden made a decision. He would not just defend, he would strike. He activated the ship's void pulse, a concentrated blast that bent space and tore through matter. It hit the flagship directly, cracking the hull and cutting off its energy. The massive ship shuddered, its crew screaming in panic. Varric felt a cold chill. The human had done it. One ship. One human. And he had destroyed the flagship's power. Varric's mind raced. If this is only one, what are they hiding? How strong are humans really? The ground ships pulled back, injured and terrified. Eclipse 1 hovered near the damaged flagship, calm and ready. Aiden's voice came again, firm and deadly serious. Leave. This is your only warning. Earth does not surrender. The aliens retreated, shocked and beaten, their pride destroyed. But deep inside, they knew this was only the beginning. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and unlike anything they had ever faced. Aiden watched as they left, knowing that Earth had survived this encounter, but the real test was yet to come. Eclipse 1 glowed faintly, alive and ready, like a predator watching its prey leave. One human, one ship, and a species that refused to bow to anyone. The first battle was over. The aliens were scared. The humans had shown their power. But the war for Earth had only begun. And Eclipse, one would be ready for whatever came next. The ground fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, their ships damaged and their officers in shock. Commander Varric stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the empty space where the human ship had been. His 4 glowing eyes reflected anger, disbelief, and fear. He had conquered hundreds of worlds, defeated countless species, but this was different. He turned to his officers. They warned us. They told us to leave. And yet we were arrogant. We thought one ship could be ignored. The officers did not answer. Their faces were pale under the lights of the bridge. Many whispered quietly among themselves. They had never seen a species survive one attack, let alone strike back with such speed, intelligence, and power. One human. One ship. And it had brought down the heart of their fleet. Varric clenched his claws. We must understand them. Every piece of information we can gather. Every record. Every history file. Humans are not weak. They are dangerous. They hide strength behind foolish appearances. And we cannot fight what we do not understand. Meanwhile, far from the alien fleet, Eclipse, one floated above the clouds of Earth. Commander Aidan Cross looked at the view through the cockpit window. The blue planet was quiet below him, peaceful, unaware of how close it had come to destruction. Aidan's face was calm, but his mind never stopped working. He knew the aliens would return. They always did. The ground dominion never stopped. And now they had learned something important. Humans were not easy prey. But Aidan also knew that Earth had no fleets, no armies ready to fight. The planet's survival depended entirely on him and Eclipse, one. The ship hummed softly, almost like it was alive. Its hull rippled and shifted, adjusting its form to absorb solar energy. Aidan ran his hands over the controls, feeling the pulse of the ship as if it were a living being. He had grown up studying this technology, learning how to work with the living metal, the dark matter cores, and the ship's strange abilities. He knew that Eclipse 1 was unique, and that the aliens could never understand it. Far across the galaxy, the ground were studying human records they had captured during previous scouting missions. What they found was alarming. Humans were a violent, creative, and unpredictable species. They had survived plagues, wars, natural disasters, and internal conflicts for thousands of years. They had no centralized power to control their own kind, yet they survived. Varric read the records aloud, his voice shaking slightly. They fight to survive, not to conquer. They do not care for logic or fairness. They are willing to sacrifice themselves, and they adapt faster than any other species we have seen. One human is enough to destroy us, if it has the right tools. An officer whispered, almost in fear. It was not just the ship. It was the human. Their decisions, their mind. They think differently. They are unpredictable. Yes, Varric said slowly. We underestimated them. That was our first mistake. And it may cost us dearly. Back on Earth, Aidan prepared for the next step. Eclipse 1 needed maintenance after the battle, but he also needed information. He accessed the ship sensors and scanned the distant space where the aliens had retreated. He saw their damage, their confusion, and their fear. The aliens were strong, but they were not unbeatable. Not if humans stayed smart. Aidan spoke quietly to the ship, as if it could understand him. We survived the first encounter. They will come back. We must be ready. They will not forget today. The ship pulsed gently in response. Living metal moved like muscle, repairing small damage and strengthening shields. It was a bond between human and machine that no alien could comprehend. As the sun rose over the horizon, Earth remained safe. Its people went about their lives, unaware that a single human ship had defended the entire planet. Aidan knew the truth. Humans had survived countless challenges because they were unpredictable. They adapted. They learned. And they refused to give up. But the ground dominion was already planning. They would return, stronger and wiser. And when they did, the real test for humanity would begin. Aidan looked toward the stars, his eyes sharp and calm. He knew that Eclipse 1 was not just a weapon. It was a message. A warning. One ship could protect Earth, but more would be needed if the aliens came in full force. And humans had more secrets. More weapons that the ground had never seen. The sun reflected off the ship's dark hull as Aiden prepared for the next battle. One human, one living ship, and an entire planet's fate rested in his hands. And for the first time in centuries, the aliens knew that humans were not to be underestimated. Aiden whispered, almost to himself, "They think we are weak, but we survive. And survival is just the beginning." In space, the ground fleet slowly disappeared into the darkness, retreating to regroup and rethink. The first encounter had been a warning. The aliens had seen the power of one human ship. But the question now haunted them: if one was this dangerous, what could an entire human fleet do? And Eclipse 1 waited, alive and ready, for the next moment. The ground dominion spent days repairing their fleet, patching damage and recalculating strategies. Commander Varric never slept. His mind raced with images of the human ship, Eclipse 1, striking faster than thought, phasing through space, and tearing apart his flagship. For the first time in centuries, he felt real fear. He studied the battle records over and over. "It was only one human," he muttered. "Just one human. And yet it destroyed half our fleet, and almost our flagship. How is this possible?" His officers looked at him nervously. Many whispered that humans were unpredictable, cunning, and fearless. They had underestimated the species, thinking that numbers alone would ensure victory. Now, one human had proven them wrong. Varric clenched his claws. "We must finish this. They cannot be allowed to survive. Gather the fleet. Full assault. Target the human ship. I want no mistakes this time." The ground ships moved in formation, massive and terrifying, their energy weapons charged to maximum. Missiles hung in their bays like dark stars ready to explode. This time, they would destroy Eclipse 1. There would be no mistakes. But Aiden was already waiting. Eclipse 1 had repaired itself faster than anyone could imagine. Its hull pulsed with dark energy. Living metal repaired the small cracks from the last encounter. The ship was ready. And Aiden had studied the ground's attacks, predicting exactly how they would strike. The first shots came fast. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness of space. The ground flagship led the attack, firing volleys with deadly precision. But Eclipse 1 vanished before the beams reached it, appearing behind the flagship. Its blades extended and cut through the rear armor. The ship rocked violently. The aliens screamed in panic. Varric's voice thundered across the bridge. "Increase firepower. Do not let it escape." But it was too late. Eclipse 1 activated a device the ground had never seen before, the Void Pulse. A concentrated sphere of energy formed in front of the ship, bending space and light. When it detonated, it tore through the ground fleet like a wave of invisible destruction. Ships exploded or lost engines, drifting helplessly. The ground officers stared in disbelief. How can one ship do this?" one of them whispered. "It is not just the ship," another said, trembling. "It is the human controlling it. Their mind. It is different." Varric's hands shook. He had faced countless enemies, yet none had made him feel so powerless. He had thought numbers would save him. Hundreds of ships against one. And yet, here he was, watching his fleet crumble before a single human and one living ship. Aiden's voice was calm over the comms. "Leave Earth. This is your only warning." Varric roared. "We will not retreat. Fire everything. Do not let it survive." But Eclipse 1 was faster. It phased in and out of space, appearing in impossible positions. Its energy blades struck again and again. Every attack the ground launched failed. Their weapons misfired. Their formations collapsed. Panic spread like wildfire. Finally, Varric made a mistake. He ordered a full frontal assault, sending all remaining cruisers directly toward Eclipse 1. He believed that overwhelming numbers would crush the human ship. But Aiden had anticipated this. Eclipse 1 extended its hull, sharp as a blade, and created multiple illusions. The ground ships collided with each other, firing blindly. The flagship was struck by the void pulse again, losing engines and shields. The ground fleet began to retreat in chaos. Varric screamed, pounding the console. Impossible! One ship cannot do this. We will be destroyed. Aiden stayed calm. He did not gloat. He had done his job. He had shown the aliens the strength of one human. And he had sent a clear message: Earth was not weak. Humans would not surrender. The surviving ground ships pulled back, badly damaged and terrified. They had seen the power of a single human ship, and they would never forget it. The aliens' pride was shattered. Their confidence broken. One ship, one human, had done what an entire fleet of their best ships could not. Aiden scanned the retreating fleet. He knew the battle was not over. The aliens would return, and they would come stronger. But Eclipse 1 was ready. It could fight, survive, and strike again. And Aiden had more tricks the ground had never seen. Varric watched from his flagship as his fleet limped away. Fear had entered his heart. He realized that humans were not to be underestimated. One human had destroyed half his fleet. One human had shattered centuries of pride. One human had survived against impossible odds. And the thought that haunted him most: if one human was this dangerous, what had he not seen yet? Eclipse 1 floated silently in the darkness of space, alive and ready. Commander Aiden Cross looked toward the stars, calm, confident, and prepared for the next attack. The ground dominion had learned a lesson they would never forget: humans were not weak. Humans survived. And when survival was at stake, they were unstoppable. The ground fleet was broken. Ships drifted helplessly, damaged, their crews panicked. Commander Varric's pride had been shattered, but his anger burned hotter than ever. One human ship had destroyed the heart of his fleet. One human had humiliated the ground dominion. And now, he swore, that human would die. Varric's 4 glowing eyes scanned the remnants of his forces. "Prepare for the final strike," he barked. "We will finish this. Target the human. No mercy. Fire everything." But Aiden Cross was ready. Eclipse 1 glowed softly in the dark of space, alive and alert. Its hull shifted like liquid, blades forming and folding back, energy pulsing through its core. Aiden's eyes were calm behind his visor. Every move of the aliens had been predicted. Every attack anticipated. He had trained for this moment all his life. The ground flagship led the attack. Its engines roared, its cannons fired in unison, energy beams slicing through space. Eclipse 1 vanished before the shots reached it, reappearing behind the flagship. Blades extended, cutting through armor and disabling weapons. The massive ship shuddered violently. Crew members screamed, alarms blared, and the ground officers panicked. Varric roared, "Concentrate fire. Destroy it before it strikes again." But Eclipse 1 was faster. It activated the phase drive, slipping partially out of normal space. The flagship fired blindly, beams missing by meters, striking nothing but empty void. Then, in a sudden move, Eclipse 1 appeared inside the flagship's formation, slicing through energy conduits and power nodes. Sparks flew, and explosions rocked the bridge. The alien crew scrambled in terror. Aiden's voice was calm, clear over the comms. "This is your only warning. Leave, or face annihilation." Varric bellowed, "We will not retreat. Fire everything." The ground fired again, but Eclipse 1 activated the void pulse. A concentrated sphere of energy expanded outward, bending space and shredding matter. It tore through the flagship, cutting engines, weapons, and armor in a single strike. The massive ship was crippled, floating helplessly in space, unable to fight back. Varric's claws shook as he slammed the console. "Impossible! One human, one ship, how can this be?" Aiden did not hesitate. Eclipse 1 extended its hull, sharp and lethal, and plunged into the crippled flagship. It moved through the corridors, slicing through power conduits, disabling systems, and creating chaos. The ground crew could not fight back. They were trapped by a ship that could move through space and reality itself. Varric realized his mistake too late. He had underestimated the human. He had thought numbers, tactics, and technology would ensure victory. He had been wrong. One human, one living ship, had destroyed what hundreds of ground ships could not. Eclipse 1 hovered near the flagship's core, its energy pulsating brighter than the sun. Aiden's mind was calm, calculating every move. The ship responded instantly, alive, intelligent, as if it understood the danger and the mission. With a single precise strike, the flagship's engines failed completely. The ship drifted, powerless. Varric screamed, fury and fear in his voice. "Stop it! Stop it now!" But there was nothing he could do. Eclipse 1 had complete control. Every attack he ordered failed. Every strategy collapsed. He watched as the human ship moved through his forces like a shadow, untouchable, unstoppable. Finally, Aiden spoke again, calm but deadly serious. "Earth does not surrender. You will leave now." The remaining ground ships, terrified and leaderless, began to retreat. Varric realized the truth. One human had destroyed half his fleet, crippled his flagship, and forced his forces to flee. The lesson was clear, terrifying, and unforgettable. Humans were not to be underestimated. They survived. They adapted. And they fought like nothing else in the galaxy. Eclipse 1 glowed softly in the void, alive and alert. Aiden looked toward the stars, calm and confident. The ground had learned a lesson. They had never faced a species like this. One human, one ship had changed everything. And if the aliens returned, Eclipse 1 would be ready. Varric's mind burned with fear and anger. He had seen the power of one human, but he had no idea what was hidden. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, terrifying. And he knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. Eclipse 1 slowly turned toward Earth, repaired and ready. Aiden's eyes scanned the planet below, calm, knowing that he had protected it. But a small part of him knew the aliens would come again, and the real war was not over. He whispered to the ship, almost as if it could hear him. "We survived today. But the real test is coming. We must be ready for everything." And in the dark of space, the ground fleet retreated, broken and frightened, knowing that one human and one living ship had done what thousands of their best ships could not. The galaxy had learned a terrifying truth: humans were not weak. Humans survived. And humans fought like nothing else. The ground fleet disappeared into the darkness, retreating faster than anyone thought possible. Their ships were damaged, their pride shattered, their crews shaken. Commander Varric sat in silence on the bridge of his flagship. He had faced countless enemies over 1,000 years, but none like this human. One ship. One human. And yet, they had destroyed half his fleet and crippled his flagship. He turned to his officers. "Remember this day," he said quietly, his voice trembling. "One human has shown us our weakness. Never forget it." The officers nodded, pale and silent. Fear had entered their hearts, and for the first time, they understood that numbers alone could not defeat humans. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were survivors. Humans were something else entirely. Far above Earth, Eclipse 1 floated silently, dark and alive. Commander Aiden Cross looked at the blue planet below, calm, yet vigilant. The battle was over for now. The aliens had retreated. Earth was safe. But Aiden knew the truth: the ground would return. They always did. And when they came, the fight would be harder. Humanity had survived the first attack, but the real war was just beginning. Eclipse 1 pulsed with energy, repairing the small damages from the battle. Living metal shifted and flowed, almost like the ship had its own heartbeat. Aiden ran his hands across the controls, feeling the ship respond to his touch. He knew that Earth's survival depended on him, and Eclipse won, but he also knew that humans had secrets, weapons the ground had never seen. Below, on the planet, humanity continued unaware. Cities bustled. People worked. Children laughed. They had no idea that one human ship had defended their world, that a single commander had faced a fleet of the most terrifying conquerors in the galaxy. Aiden felt a quiet satisfaction. He had protected them, and Earth had survived. Yet even in victory, he remained cautious. He accessed the ship's sensors and scanned distant space. The ground were gone, but their fear remained. Eclipse One had sent a clear message: humans were not to be underestimated. One ship, one human, had proven that beyond any doubt. Aiden whispered to the ship, "They will come back. And next time, we must be ready for everything." The living ship pulsed again in response, as if agreeing. Its dark hull shifted and rippled, alive, aware, and ready. Aiden smiled faintly behind his visor. The ground thought humans were weak. They thought numbers would win. They were wrong. But the final secret remained hidden, even from the aliens. Eclipse One was not alone. Hidden in the dark side of the moon, in secret human shipyards, dozens more ships were growing. Living metal, dark matter cores, phase drives, and energy weapons, human technology beyond imagination. Each ship was silent now, waiting, alive in its own way, like sleeping predators. The aliens had seen one ship and thought that was all humanity had. But one ship was only the beginning. One ship was enough to terrify the ground, but the rest were waiting, hidden, ready to awaken. Aiden turned toward the moon, his eyes scanning the hidden fleet. He whispered, almost to himself, "If one was enough to scare them, imagine what they will do when all are ready." The camera of the ship's sensors scanned the sleeping fleet. Rows upon rows of ships, each more terrifying than the last, glimmered faintly in the shadows. They were alive, waiting, and ready. Humanity had survived the first wave. The ground had learned fear. And the universe had learned a new truth. Humans were not just survivors, they were monsters in their own right, and they would fight for their planet at any cost. In the distance, the retreating alien ships disappeared into the void. They carried a single message with them: humans were not weak, humans were dangerous, and humans should never be challenged. Eclipse One pulsed softly, alive and vigilant. Aiden looked toward Earth, toward the moon, toward the stars beyond. The planet was safe, for now. But the galaxy would never forget the power of one human ship. And one day, when the rest awakened, the universe would see the full strength of humanity. For now, Aiden Cross floated silently above the planet he had saved. Eclipse One alive, ready, and watching. A warning. A promise. A secret. One human. One ship. And dozens more waiting in the shadows. The galaxy had learned its first lesson. The second lesson was coming. And humans would survive.